them, you can say about all of them that it's difficult to learn the standard variants in schools or later. There are such things in English too. If anybody knows or happens to be from the southern part of this country, they will certainly be unable to say pin and pen as I can. They can only say pin and pen. They can unlearn their merger of the vowels, and that's it. Okay, some of those are like that. School teachers stigmatize you for something that you can't possibly change. Okay, their use of those variants requires constant monitoring of your own speech. Educational mobility will not often eliminate those features of your speech. And that's part of the game. Okay. One could say that based on the above, it can be said that linguistic hierarchization is most successful, or linguicism is really sustainable. A buzzword today. Everything needs to be sustainable. Linguicism. This is how you make it sustainable. When your prescriptive norms support the prestige-based correctness, and I'll explain this a bit later, this really means the usage of the social elite. And when it's difficult, if not impossible, for speakers of non-standard varieties to learn the standard variety in school or later. The fight for those prescriptive rules, which are always violated, makes the job of language guardians profitable, and that of teachers needed forever. Good news for some of us teachers. Okay, let's go through the educational consequences. For bilingual or minority Hungarians, this now concerns only 3 million people around Hungary. The contact varieties of Hungarian in the neighboring countries have been diverging from Hungarian in Hungary since 1920. The Sociolinguistics of Hungarian Outside Hungary project, which we conducted in 1996, and this book, Hungarian Language Contact Outside Hungary by Benjamins, contains a lot of material from our project, reviewed a number of differences in vocabulary, grammar, grammatics, what have you. I'll show a few illustrative examples. Here is one. Take the standard Hungarian compound tag, D, member, and fee, meaning membership fee. In the contact varieties of Hungarian spoken in the surrounding countries, this oftentimes looks like tagsági díj. So there is a derivative suffix ság, which derives a noun, and there is a derivative suffix deriving an adjective, the I, from tagsági díj, okay? This is different enough to be noticed. If you say tagsági díj, where Hungarians in Hungary say tagdíj, you'll be noticed. This is one of a million such lexical differences, and the linguistics part of it is analytization. Hungarian becomes more analytic when it comes into contact with other languages spoken around us. All right, here is another thing. Oh no, here's the data. This shows that, from our 96 survey, this shows that in Hungary, 28% of our 107 respondents chose the contact-induced long version or variant tagsági díj, as opposed to 69% in the neighboring countries. Okay, 28% in Hungary versus 69% in the neighboring countries. So this is a huge difference. If you run chi-square, you'll get a p smaller than 0.001. Okay, here is a grammatical difference between Metropolitan Hungarian and minority Hungarian varieties. In Standard or Metropolitan Hungarian, the verb-governed adjectival complements of plural subjects or objects may be either in singular or plural, as you see here. A képviselők az okokat blank tartották. The representatives regarded the reasons as serious. Possible answers are singular komolynak, this is Standard Hungarian, or non-standard contact-induced plural, como jaknak. Okay? Now, what you see here is not percentages, but people. But you see that in Subcarpathia, Ukraine, where they speak contact varieties, it's almost the same number of people doing the standard Hungarian or choosing the standard Hungarian and the contact-induced form, as opposed to Hungarians in Hungary, where the left side bar shows the singular forms. Much more people chose that, right? Okay. I could go on to give you other examples of grammar, but you'll just have to take it for granted that there is what syntacticians call pro-drop. Some languages drop a pronoun when others don't. For instance, when you look at this, I met Hedwig and asked her to buy me a croissant. English must have the pronoun her in it. Hungarian drops it. Okay, we don't have that. So we go like A. Találkoztam Hedviggel. No, we go like B. Találkoztam Hedviggel, és megkértem, vegyen egy küfit. But in A, at the end of the first line, you have the little word őt, which corresponds to the accusative pronoun in English. When you do a study like that, you again find huge differences between Hungarian spoken in Hungary and in the neighboring countries, and that's due to language contact. Okay, this is what it looks like. Just skip it, and let me just say that there are divergences, and I'll just show a few which come to the educational arena. One concerns the word tanító, which in Hungary today means a teacher of 6 to 10-year-olds, but in Slovakia it means a teacher of 6 to 18-year-olds. Általános iskola is a general school for 6 to 14-year-olds in Hungary, but the name for that is alapiskola, a different word, calqued from Slovak, forcibly translated from Slovak. You look at mathematics, you might believe Hungarians should be happy because they're allowed to learn mathematics from Hungarian-looking textbooks. But when you look at the technical terms, you find out that what is tömeg for mass in Hungary is súly or weight in Slovakia. Yeah. Tizedes tört, decimal fraction or decimal number, etc. Okay. I'm coming to the end. Part of the reason is that I'm getting these nice warnings about minutes. So let me show some of the problems of corpus planning. There have been concerted efforts to narrow the gap between the Hungarian language spoken in Hungary and the contact varieties in the neighboring countries. One of the problems that we soon learned after 1990 was when textbooks were exported from Hungary to the neighboring countries without any pedagogical or other sort of considerations. This is what would happen. The primer might introduce pictures to teach speech sounds and later letters. So the picture of a duck, kocsa in Hungarian, would be used to teach the sound k and the letter k. So far, so good. But when the book uses the picture of a belt, excuse me, to introduce the sound a mid-front rounded vowel as used in the Hungarian word the Subcarpathian Hungarian school kids are in a hopeless situation because for them, the name of the object is sea, a voiceless dental frigate. A perfectly good Hungarian synonym of which is the only word known and used beyond the border. The way out of this predicament would be to commission one teacher in Hungary and one in Subcarpathia, Ukraine, to jointly write a textbook. Such a book, neither mistranslated nor exported from Hungary, could cater for the linguistic and cultural needs of the minority pupils, and could also pave the way for standardization of the minority variety of the language. I'm coming really to the end, so please bear with me. Corpus planning efforts have been made, as I said, and one new result of that, or one of the first results, is the publication of the Hungarian Explanatory Dictionary in 2003, which lists a few hundred words or word meanings from the neighboring countries. And this way, the dictionary has started going from a dictionary of Hungarian as spoken in Hungary to a dictionary of Hungarian as spoken, at least in the Carpathian Basin. All right. I want to spend some time, even if I go beyond the limit, on John Myhill, who distinguishes three distinct understandings of the notion of correctness, and this is all about standardization. Myhill says that there is this thing called textual correctness, which is based on written valued texts like the Bible or the Quran in Arabic. Okay, the best language is the one you find in the Bible or the Quran or in Shakespeare or in the greatest of your poets. Textual correctness. Then he says there's something called prestige-based correctness. This is based on the usage of the social AD. It's held up as the model for everybody to follow. And there's the good old prescriptive correctness, which is determined by Ernst Hokoyar, speaks about the Norwegian situation, and the quote you see up there. The point is that there are two Norwegian standard varieties, and neither may be preferred or taught at the cost of the other in school. And the sociolinguistic constellation of Norwegian is very different from Hungarian, French, English, German, etc. Norwegian teachers have no right to promote one standard variety at the cost of all other varieties. They have no right to stigmatize pupils for their dialect. If standardization of a majority language X and minority varieties of X is the goal, then purism must be eliminated as much as possible. For purism increases the linguistic insecurity of minority speakers. Hence, it pushes minority speakers towards language shift. The status and corpus planning should be carried out to reduce the differences between the majority variety and the minority varieties. The dangers of bilingual minorities pursuing monolingual standards are great, but they are often ignored. Also great are the dangers of linguistic segregation of minorities. If they are not high-level bilinguals, their insufficient knowledge of the majority language will aggravate their socially oppressed position. One of the many forms of linguistic oppression is the denial by the state of the minority's right to learn the L2 as an L2, to learn the dominant official language of the country as an L2. When dominant nations provide educational equity for all, like in English only and most everywhere else, through the medium of the state language, and as it happens in all Central Europe, of course, they simply support with false arguments their practice of linguistic oppression. Thank you very much.